Hi, fellow tea lovers. Settle in, because we've got a story. I'm Nell.
And I'm Rose, and today we're bringing you the tea.
Across eras. Hey, dude.
Hey, how's your week been?
Oh my gosh. No, I'm graduating.
Woohoo!
1 week from this recording.
And the home stretch, the last week, it is always the worst.
And not even 1 week. I think I'm down to like 5 days.
Well, I'll tell you what I texted you earlier, which was, I know it feels like death on toast, but it's a moment in time.
Right?
That's the advice I'd give anybody.
So, a couple weeks ago, I submitted a rough draft, which was supposed to be a rough draft that we were supposed to submit, but I uploaded it into the section where we were supposed to submit the final draft.
Classic nightmare of a problem.
Exactly. Anyway, so I got that all worked out. I've been working on the final, and it was due Sunday night. All the assignments are almost always due Sunday night at midnight.
That's so
And
odd to me.
I know, online, man. And I had most of it done, and I knew that even though yesterday, Mother's Day, was going to be really busy for me, I was like, I will have time to finish it. And so right before lunch, I opened up my laptop to look at it, and I realized that the assignment was due the night before.
Oh,
Which,
that's so bad.
It is bad. But honestly, like, I know my professor is pretty chill. And I mean, I don't even know if he noticed, to be honest, but, I emailed him anyways. But that threw me so hard that even though I was already planning on working on it, I was just like having that mental moment where I'm like, all of this is bad, everything's bad. I'm just going to close the laptop and lay down on the floor and roll under the couch and stay there forever.
I just quit. I curl up under the nearest piece of furniture. I quit.
Right. So I got it done. Girl, I did not turn it in until about 11:30 p.m., which was wild because
But you got it done.
I did. So that basically sums up every day lately. How have you been?
I've been pretty good. Been pretty good. New job training makes the day go by pretty quickly because I don't feel like I am quick at anything. So anything that I've accomplished just necessarily takes an hour. But it is also a world in which lunch breaks exist.
Yes, ma'am.
Nice. So, it's going pretty well.
And your new job is just like a whole new world of acronyms.
I have a list. I call it acronym soup. I'm going to make a poster someday.
It'll be helpful for the next new person.
Well, it was funny. I was talking to my husband earlier, and I was a little nervous about a call that I was going to be on. And he was like, look, of anything that you know how to do, you know how to be on a phone call. You'll be fine. I was like, you have got a point, sir.
You're all, well, I guess I can't deny that.
And ironically, I hate phones. I hate phone calls so much. Like, please don't call me. If you ever want to get a hold of me, like, text, email. I don't have social media, so that's really it. But phone calls
like
give me
she
anxiety.
Answers your text. No, I'm just kidding. She actually is like, compared to how it used to be, like 1,000 times amazing.
Well, because my phone's always been a source of anxiety, so I always try and deal with it in a variety of ways. And for a long time, your text tone was the little pirate alarm from that Archer episode when the mainframe gets hacked. And because I wanted it to be loud, because I knew that me not paying attention to my phone was problematic, for us hanging out, which I really enjoyed. And so I was like, I don't want to miss your text. So I made it something really loud and annoying. Now, every time that episode is on, I go reaching for my phone. It's so ingrained now.
I love that. Thinking back to a specific time in our long friendship in which I was like desperate for outlets. And I was like, I need to see you 12 times a week.
Yeah, that is
Thank you for still being my friend. I don't know if I would still be anyone's friend if they did that to me.
It didn't bother me at all. It was just like, oh, cool, you want to hang out every day? That's fine.
Yes. I tend to like schedule things in my mind, even though a friend who lived with me for a little while can attest to, even though I say I do this, she would be like, hey, do you want to do this on this date? And I would be like, yes, definitely. And then she would be like, hey, we're going to leave for this in 20 minutes. And I'll be like, for what? Did I agree to something? But
No, I'm guilty of that too.
in my head, I'm like scheduled, and I'm like, gotta do this, 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 this. So you gotta do them all. Max enjoyment, bounce.
Right. If it's not planned to the nines, man, you travel like my dad.
Oh yeah. My family knows that if they're traveling with me, if they are interested, I will have a full itinerary planned. They don't have to do any thinking. They just have to show up and enjoy. However, if they don't want to do it, that's also fine. But don't try to change my plans.
I have a schedule. You are welcome to join me.
Yeah, and everyone knows it. And, sometimes that causes tricky situations, but we've all come to a consensus on that.
I think my travel style gives most people heart attacks because there's something really thrilling about just planning as you go.
Girl, what?
No, I know. And it's definitely backfired in a lot of ways, a lot of times, but I've had some really cool experiences I wouldn't have had without
Okay, that's fair.
that as well. Like it's ceding control a little bit, like not in terms of your safety or like your food, but just in terms of your planning, having that flexibility, like kind of just allows you to experience things that are not on the tourist map.
Depending on the trip, sometimes I build days like that in. When back in was it 2012 or something, I went to England, and some of the ladies I went with were amazing because they got like all the logistics scheduled and planned everything and like had all the optional activities. And I had decided that I was going to take the channel over to Paris. But thankfully, I decided that well in advance.
Oh, yeah. No, you can buy tickets on the day, but it's not amazing.
It's very, very expensive. Yep. So that I was glad I planned in advance. But then one day, which it was good because I was with a large group of people and eventually you need space.
Yes.
And so I was just kind of like, bye, everyone. I'm going out on my own. I'll be back by, 9 p.m. or whatever. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go to Kensington Palace and then, we'll check it out from there. And I got around that day by going up to people and being like, what's something interesting I should see as a tourist? And it also killed me how many people I would be like, can you tell me where the nearest tube station is? And they would be like, well, where are you going? I'm all, I really don't know. I'm just going to go. And wherever that train goes is where I'm going to go. Like, it's going to be an adventure. And they were like, but where are you going? Well, it doesn't matter where I'm going. Just literally, where's the closest one if I start walking right now?
You're asking such a confusing question to such an organized set of people. Like, yeah, no, but where? Yeah, I met this poor couple in Paris when I was trying to hook back up with the friend that I was traveling with after going to a flea market, and I was walking around just trying to figure out, I think, where a shop was, and these guys came up to me and they started speaking broken French, and I kind of looked and I was like, "Are you guys American?" Go, oh yeah, oh thank God, oh it's so nice to hear English. Oh, we're so lost. And I was just like, oh, I'm so happy that we met. I'm lost too, but it's just really nice to say hey.
The most helpful person to me on that day in London was an American woman who was living there. She was like, okay, let me give you some tips on where to go. And she's like, they don't know like what's around them, they just live here and it's normal to them.
Yeah, right.
So, they're not excited by this piece of architecture you want to see.
Right. That's just the corner by the bagel shop. It's yeah. It's a different filter for the existence.
Speaking of places, we live in New Mexico. I think we've admitted that now.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's like an enormous state. In Albuquerque.
Albuquerque's home, let's say.
But we're going to get into that. So, okay, I was thinking about this situation that happened, and I'm going to tell it to you, and I know you're going to have some stories to go with it, okay? All right. So, back in the olden days, I used to work in a call center for a credit card company, and that was my job during the majority of undergraduate. And it was a really good one for that time.
Oh, yeah.
I say this like it was 100 years ago. It was like the early 2000s. And I know you, Rose, know how a call center works. But if you don't know how a call center works, lovely listeners, I'm just going to give you an overview. Okay. So, let's say, for example, if you call the phone number on the back of your credit card, once you get through the automated fake person who, definitely misunderstands you 12 times, In those days, you were probably going to get someone in a call center on the phone. Nowadays, people work from home a lot, so this is less common. But it would be like a huge building or set of buildings, and there would be thousands of employees in them.
Do you remember how every single person that you met at some point in our 20s had or was working at Phase 2, but Phase 2 worked for like a ton of different companies over time? So that could mean that you worked at AT&T or
MCI.
MCI.
I remember the
Victoria's
Phase
Secret.
2, yep, the Victoria's Secret call center, the AOL call center was out here, and that closed while I was at this credit card company, and we absorbed a lot of their people. At my call center, at the height of it, there were about 1,800 employees, and I was in the credit card division, but there were also like collections, business credit cards, the company's mortgage arm, like personal banking, business loans, all kinds of things. Like I said, that's not really a thing in the United States anymore. There are a few states where they have laws on the books that if you call your American customer service phone number, you have to get a person in the United States of America.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, very few states have that. I can't even remember which ones. I feel like maybe Nevada was one of them, but so the people who work at home now also they're not taking as many phone calls in this kind of setting because they're also probably working the chat that when you go online and get through that automated chat bot. So, back in those days, half the people who called you would be like, "Oh, where are you at? Where am I calling to?" And if you're in the United States, you could just vaguely say, you didn't want to be like, I'm at 123 Main Street, Northwest.
That has never been a good idea.
Yeah, that's not great. So we would usually be like, "Oh, I'm in New Mexico." It's a big state. Like I was just saying, like big. There's a lot of land. So, it feels not too specific, even though there's only 3 cities with populations over 100,000.
Yeah, it's got a really small town vibe pretty much wherever you are.
Okay, so obviously Albuquerque's the biggest. As of last year, we had 560,274.
We're city folk.
We're city folks. Okay, and then we have Las Cruces coming in second. The difference. Las Cruces is at 114,892. Okay, guess.
Most of that is NMSU.
Yeah. Santa Fe is at 89,167 people.
Actually, that's not that surprising to me because I am always floored at how little residential space is in Santa Fe.
All the residential space is like on the outsides of Santa Fe.
Right, but the ones that are on the outsides of Santa Fe are like the big houses with the big lots. Those are big properties, but like actual apartment buildings or any kind of reasonably
live in Santa Fe.
Well, exactly. So because there's no reasonably priced housing for the labor market up there, like it keeps it small.
Yeah. Like yesterday we went to Mother's Day dinner with some family friends and they're living in Santa Fe right now. And he moved out here from the state we all used to live in. And so he was like, "Yeah, it's like driving from there to Montgomery." And I'm just like, "Yeah, but I've been back here like more than 20 years."
Yeah.
Like driving that distance does not thrill me.
No.
Okay, but yeah, Santa Fe is just a little bit smaller than Lawrence, Kansas, which is home of the University of Kansas. And they've got 94,000. And then Mount Pleasant, South Carolina at 92,000. I've never been to either of those places, but there we go.
It's a good comparison.
Yeah.
People asked about like how big York was. I said Santa Fe size. Like it's probably about even.
So back to the third largest city in New Mexico. It's Rio Rancho.
Okay.
Their population is 110,660. But okay, look, her reaction is to be expected because out here in a state this dang big, we don't have suburbs. Like we don't have cities that smush into cities and create small places called suburbs.
See, and I feel like Rio Rancho is a suburb. That is what it started as. But I mean, maybe that's just because it's grandfathered into my brain. But it's not its own city.
What it is.
It is, I know.
Like once a suburb gets whatever suburby status there is out there. Yeah. Isn't that wild?
That is so bizarre.
All right. So back to the call center. They'd be like, "Where am I calling?" And we'd say New Mexico. And there were numerous, I tell you, numerous times when a client would say to me or my coworkers inside a call center, we're all telling each other what's happening on our calls, just so you know.
You're part of the discussion if you
Yeah.
call those lines. Just know that.
And if you're memorable, you're memorable.
Oh, yeah.
So anyways, they would say something like, "Oh, wow, Mexico, your English is so good. I never would have guessed."
That is such a nice version of all of the reactions that could go weirdly for that. Like, I would really hesitate to even admit where I was answering from, just depending on the demeanor of my callers.
Yeah.
Because, like, there were some callers that was just like, okay, I have an extra 3 minutes. You're definitely going to have a story about New Mexico, but it's probably going to be interesting, so I'll tell you. Versus, you're going to start criticizing me immediately because you think that I'm answering from Mexico and you have extremely passionate feelings about it. I'm not admitting dick.
Every single person who has passionate feelings about Mexico prefers Mexican Coke over American Coke. When I was in Texas last month, I don't even drink sodas, y'all. Sodas aren't my thing. The bubbles bother me. They're gross. They're too sweet. I don't need them. I like water. I drink Mexican Coke.
Yeah, no, there's exceptions.
Yeah, people need to get it together. So there were 2 times in the call center that were so good, I remember them. And they didn't even happen to me, these 2 instances. They happened to other people who were either on my team or like sitting nearby. All right, so the first was a guy calling, and his mailing address was in Las Vegas, Nevada. Las Vegas, Nevada is an 8.5-hour drive from Albuquerque. This guy, he's like, "I want to speak to someone in the USA." My coworker's like, "Hi, you're so funny, sir. I am in New Mexico." Like the state of New Mexico, the 47th state in the United States of America, real close to you. And he's like, "I know all the states, and I've never heard of that."
Oh, for
You guys.
there's a whole if you're from New Mexico, you know that there's a long running article. I think it was called one of our 50 states is missing, where we all just tell these stories over and over again because literally everybody has them.
Yep. Look, I'm going to confess. If I looked at a map of the United States and needed to label all 50 of the states within the U.S., I would get maybe half of them.
But this isn't okay. All right,
In
maybe
my
this is
defense,
prejudice. Those fiddly little Eastern ones.
Okay, thank you. In my defense, girl, I did the math, and we'll get to this, to see how many New England states or of the 13 original colonies it would take to make up New Mexico. So, up in the like New England, New York, New Jersey, New Rhode Island area, there's like a bunch of states smushed up there. So no, I can't name them all. And then there's the Midwest, which, newsflash, it's not the Midwest. It's like the mid-mid.
Right.
The upper mid-mid. Yeah. The upper mid-mid. I don't know them. But if you say the name of any one of our 50 states, I will know it's a state.
You at least heard of it. That's
New Hampshire.
Putting it on a map. Now I'm going to say New Mexico's a little hard to miss. Just again, I'm probably biased, but
it's really
huge.
big.
It's huge.
It's the blue zone between Texas and Arizona. It's right under Colorado and has better chili.
Oh man, speaking of Arizona though, like one of mine is, I was just talking about this yesterday. I was trying to get Comcast installed in a new apartment, and the guy I was talking to, call center, was just so convinced that I lived in Arizona, and fire would not burn that opinion out of him. He was like, he starts off like, "Oh, you guys are pretty close to Phoenix, right?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know, 6 hours isn't really that close."
No.
And he didn't get the joke, clearly. And then he's looking up the address and he says, "I don't see any," I don't live there anymore, so I'll say it, "I don't see any Park Avenue. There's no Park Avenue listed. Are you sure?" And I'm getting a little pissed at that point. And I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure. I'm looking at the street sign." And he says, "Well, maybe the sign's wrong." And he disbelieved me to such a degree that he sent some poor tech out to, I don't even know where, somewhere in a suburb of Phoenix instead of to my building. And I sat and waited for him, and the guy sat and waited for someone to let him in Arizona. And that was how little he believed me that I lived in a different state.
Yeah, what about like the city, state, and zip code part?
I know.
Well, what about that? My second favorite time at the call center was an older customer told one of my coworkers. So my coworker like stands up and she's like windmilling with her arms so that everyone can run over and listen.
Emergency.
And the customer is saying, "I'm looking at a map and there is nothing in between Arizona and Texas."
That is exactly as ridiculous as it sounds.
Yeah.
But there is a map.
I know.
There is a map in the Smithsonian where they just stretched Texas and Arizona, and New Mexico does not exist.
And I would just like to add in the only reason I know is because you told me that.
I hope to God they've actually taken it out by now, but a 12-year-old me and my mother can attest that that exists.
Oh my gosh. So, just in case you fall into the category of people who forget new in front of New Mexico, I'm just going to tell you some fun stuff about the state.
Also, sidebar, our international listeners get a huge pass because I couldn't tell you provinces of any country. I don't expect you to know.
Agree. Also, they probably do know, but they still get a pass.
Yeah, better education and all, but you get all the love.
So, in this book I'm reading called Black AF American History,
Oh, yeah.
and he's like, white people colonize things by like just planting a flag on it and being like, hey, old York, haha, this is New York. It's better. Right. So I'm like, New Mexico.
That's one of my favorite Eddie Izzard jokes. It's the colonizer arrives on shore and he goes, I've planted a flag. This is mine. I claim this in the name of, so whatever. And a native person comes up and says, but I live here. Like, well, do you have a flag? No flag, no country. That's the rule.
No. So we are known for Breaking Bad, set in Albuquerque, filmed all over the place. I really enjoyed the show. I personally don't know anyone who lives that kind of life, so I cannot attest to its accuracy.
That was actually coming out when I was in school in England, and I had a friend that was so excited about that fact, and she would introduce me as, she's from where they film Breaking Bad. I was like, that gives me a certain veneer, my love, that I'm not prepared to fulfill. I do live downtown, actually, fairly close to, one of the filming locations. Did then, do now.
Well, I mean, I don't think you can go very many places at this point and not live close to one of them.
We were on the tour for a little while, like not on the tour, but we were a stop. We lived at a stop on the tour, and those guys were terrible drivers.
Yes, my daughter used to live in what we fondly refer to in Albuquerque as the student ghetto, because, it's where, you don't want to live on campus, but you have to live across the street from the university.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's established nomenclature.
Yeah, the Breaking Bad tour bus, the one in the RV, which that's what I want to do for my graduation. I've been wanting to do this, and now I have a reason to force everyone to do it. This is amazing.
You get to pick. Fair enough.
Thank you. So I want to go in the one in the RV, and they used to drive past my kid's house at like full speed. Yeah. This is like a 25-mile-an-hour bicycle street.
Yeah, and they're not well-maintained streets, and it's all angles and blind turns.
She would just be like, man, they cannot drive. I say this as I declare we're going, but hey, it is what it is. Yeah. We're also the place where Bugs Bunny should have taken a left.
Which is sort of the one I prefer.
Yeah. And I was thinking about this. I'm like, okay, so if you were coming to Albuquerque from Texas, you hit Albuquerque and make a left, you're
heading to Mexico.
Yes, you're going to Mexico. If you're coming from Arizona and take a left, then you're going to Colorado, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I think he was going to Mexico. So when I was little, my family moved from here, New Mexico, to Hawaii, and my grandma asked my dad if we were moving into the U.S. or out of it. So here's some really fun facts. Here's where we're going to give Santa Fe some cred. Santa Fe is the oldest capital city in the U.S., founded in 1610, and it has the oldest public building in the country, the Palace of Governors.
Which is actually pretty cool.
I don't know if I've ever seen that. Every time I go to Santa Fe, it's usually for Meow Wolf, sponsor us. And a couple times I've gone to try to see the staircase made with no nails. Man, is literally never available.
It's actually a functional church still, so I kind of respect that. But yeah, I've never caught it either.
There's a wedding going on.
I know, it's really pretty. That sounded snarkier than it was supposed to. It is really pretty.
It is pretty. Mm-hmm. New Mexico is also the only U.S. state with an official state question, which is
red or green. Okay, and I think that was my favorite part of seeing Trevor Noah's live show when he came out here.
And yes.
Sir, if you ever get to listen to this, I kind of apologize. Like, it was everybody in the theater knew what was going on and you didn't, and that is not a comfortable feeling. But it's kind of like, it's not just the state question, it's like the state joke on people from out of the states.
Yeah, it's how we roll. We love you.
Everybody knows that you don't know what we're talking about, and everybody just enjoys their moment. But so he's up there asking questions, and questions or answering questions, and he's picking people out in the crowd. And of course, if you have a crowd of New Mexicans and you ask for just general questions, and if there is anybody in the crowd with a sense of humor or whatsoever, someone will ask you red or green with no context.
Yes.
And
we expect you to know.
And what it means is, do you prefer red chili or green chili? Because
we're not talking about chili spelled with an E that's made of beans.
Oh, yes.
Not that.
And I know you're going to define that in a, so I'm not going to roll over you. But it was just because she just asks him red or green. He goes, red or green what? And that's the joke. So everybody's dying laughing, and it's a truncated problem.
Because then people start yelling Christmas at him.
Right, which is the secret actual answer, Christmas being both.
That's not my answer. Mine's always red.
I actually prefer red too, but green chili, it's a real heart of state culture. I mean, you really do see it on everything, and it is actually pretty good on most things.
My favorite item with green chili is from Dion's, and it is their gourmet thin crust pizza, the Duke City. It has turkey, cheddar, Parmesan, and strips of green chili.
Nice.
It's so good.
I think I have to give Chili Works a shout out for my very favorite green chili. Oh. And I don't even know if they exist anymore, but they were the premier burrito shack in Los Alamos when I was in high school. If you wanted to bribe somebody, from 12 years old to 70, you brought them a Chili Works burrito. Okay. Like that was how you were ingratiating yourself with it. And it was this little shack in the parking lot of the Sonic that you would never know was there, except for everyone knew it was there.
Yeah.
And it was this like shared cultural experience where it was like, you're going to Chili Works? And then you had an order for 15 you had to bring back.
Yeah. Oh, I hate that. So chili, we're referring to like the vegetable. Mm-hmm. It has seeds, and maybe it's technically a fruit. But I'm referring to the vegetable.
I think it's technically a fruit.
It is a chili pepper, not a chili concoction that's like beans and possibly ground beef or other meats.
Because I think a lot of times when you hear chili, you think of like sauce or stew, kind of a concoction. But no, it is its own.
I like that stuff just fine.
Oh yeah, no shit.
That's chili with an E. I mean, we're talking about chili with an E. Yeah. I think my favorite green chili, and I don't go there anymore because love you, but Al Cafe's prices are out of control.
I haven't been in ages.
But they don't give you like chips and salsa when you sit down. Mm-hmm. They give you a little bowl of their like beans with green chili in it and crackers, and it's so good.
Interesting. I don't know. I think my favorite hors d'oeuvre type salsa is still Los Cuates. They have like that. It's kind of like a fine ground salsa. It's like kind of more saucy, and it's got like a big smoky kick to it. It's almost barbecue-y.
Okay.
It's definitely not like.
Is it Chipotle heavy?
Yeah, it's very Chipotle heavy.
Okay.
And yeah, it's not classic salsa, but it is my favorite.
My favorite salsa is green tomatillo salsa, and 505 salsa used to make my favorite, but they got sold to a place in Colorado.
Boo.
So back to Christmas. Christmas means you like red and green chili. That's it.
Poor Trevor Noah. People start yelling Christmas at him. He's more confused. Someone finally explains that people are talking about chili, and he's like, well, what the hell are you asking me about chili for? They're like, it's the state question. Like, it's also the state aha moment.
Yep, it is. It is. New Mexico also has one of the highest percentages of Hispanic and Native American populations. We're a big blend. The culture here is definitely a blend of like Spanish, Mexican, Pueblo, Navajo, Apache, ranchers. Yeah. Women from Santa Fe.
It's a huge variety of people here. And I love how, for the most part, people get along so well. I've never lived in a friendlier place. And it's actually very cool, but we're not going to tell you that.
Don't come here is our like state slogan. I mean,
we enjoy it the way it is.
Fiesta, but that's it. Every October, from the first full weekend in October through the second full weekend in October, we have the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta. At one point, it was supposed to be the most photographed event in the world.
Yeah,
I think it was sponsored by Kodak then, so that does seem a little iffy, but not surprising at all. I don't go to it very often anymore. It's just like a lot of effort and tiring.
Yeah, I love that it exists, and
Me too.
I think it's true of any tourist thing. Like, I hate the influx of people and the resulting traffic and weird things. Like, I work almost exclusively from home, and I had to go into the office last year because a balloon managed to crash on the freeway. Thank God everyone was fine. But in the process, a transformer had gotten taken out, and
Ugh.
my internet was down. And I had to drive to Rio Rancho, so I was
Which
pretty
is
mad at the balloon fiesta
right
that
through
day.
the path
It
of
was
the
just
balloon
right through the
fiesta.
path of the problem.
So my thing is I'm not going to get up at 3 a.m. to attempt to catch one of the buses that may or may not be sold out and may or may not get me there on time.
We also have the luxury of like pick a friend that's got a view and go sit on their roof.
Yeah. Or half the time, if you just get up at an appropriate hour, which I struggle to do, you can see them from your front or back porch.
Yeah. Pretty reliably, at least one a year lands in my parents' cul-de-sac. So
Yeah, I
my
can
mom
see that.
sends me pictures. And I'm
I
just,
can see that.
fiesta.
We also, besides the Balloon Fiesta, which you all should come see, it is also home to striking natural wonders like White Sands National Park, which is the world's largest gypsum sand dune field.
And it's really fun.
It is fun. And Carlsbad Caverns, which has over 100 underground caves, offers a bat viewing during bat viewing season. And
Oh, I love bats so much. Go around the corner from the house, we can go to bat viewing.
my favorite Carlsbad Caverns fact at the moment is that they found bones of giant sloths in them.
I didn't know that. That's fantastic.
Isn't that amazing? That's my most favorite. New Mexico also is the birthplace of the nuclear age. We've hinted at this, but if you didn't know, the movie Oppenheimer, all of that stuff, that's out here. That's in Los Alamos. And
Hometown, baby. Go
her
Hilltoppers.
hometown. And that's where the first atomic bomb was tested at the Trinity site. And is the Trinity site the one that like is only open like twice a year and you have to go online and try to get your slot booked, or is that somewhere else?
So the Trinity site is actually closer to White Sands. That's where they actually did the test itself. Los Alamos is where they developed and built the bombs.
Yes, that is correct.
Which were called Fat Man and Little Boy. And I knew a lot more about nuclear proliferation as a kid than I think a lot of kids do, because everybody's dad worked at the lab. You know, the bomb testing range was within at least audible distance of the high school, and nobody would jump. It's not like they're testing nuclear bombs. It was actual just explosives testing. You know? But pretty much everyone worked for the labs. Like it's a very purpose-built place.
Yeah.
My grandparents were part of the first generation to settle there, and there's a great story about
Tell the story.
Everything was army based, you know, and so it was run very much like military base housing. And my grandmother was actually why they were allowed to have pink kitchens, because she was shown by this base official the swatches that she was allowed to pick from for her kitchen when they moved there, and she's like, I will have a pink kitchen or nothing at all. And she was the type of woman that got things done. Therefore, she got a pink kitchen. Then everybody else got a pink kitchen, because you can't just let one person have a pink kitchen.
I love that story so much.
That's just who she was. She got things done. And you would never have known that you'd been snookered. Like she had that grin on her face the whole time, and she's going to feed you pie afterward. But you're definitely going to do what she suggested.
That's your dad's mom.
That's my mom's mom.
That's right, your mom's mom. But I forget both sides of your family are Los Alamosians.
Not actually, no.
Your dad worked there?
Yes, he moved there.
But you've got it on your dad's side and your mom's line.
Yeah, no, that's true. The family was there, and then dad moved in. But his family is actually all East Coast, because my grandmother was a radio DJ in the 1920s in Syracuse, and I'm just pretty
That's right.
proud of it.
New Mexico also is home to Roswell and UFOs. And if you ever come visit, there's a McDonald's in Roswell, and it's like very UFO themed.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's kind of their whole shtick.
Yeah, and like the lampposts are too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I know.
I don't think I've ever actually been to Roswell, because I absolutely believe in aliens, so it's not like a woohoo, you know. Look at this.
I don't believe in those kind of things.
Right. Like for me, my belief in aliens is that statistically speaking, us being the only intelligent life forms in an entire universe of which we have never observed just seems unlikely.
That is my exact stance. I'm like, well, it makes sense to be something.
Yeah, right. I mean, like in actuality, the stuff that they've brought out with like the Navy, you know, releasing those videos. I mean, yeah, that's
wild.
I'm interested in the explanation, but I mean, who knows?
Also in New Mexico, we do not have saguaro cactus.
Huge trope. Anytime anybody sees desert, you think of the cactus with the
Two arm
upward facing
thingies.
arms, looks like it's waving at you. No, they don't exist out here. There's a reason that it's illegal to just pick them up out of the desert in Arizona. They're very regionally specific. They're endangered and they don't transplant well. So
Nope.
no, they
They're
don't
in
live here.
Arizona and part of Mexico.
Mhm.
Yeah. So we don't have those. We have cactus, but
All over the
not like
place.
that. We have like bushy cactus.
Did you ever pet a cactus when you were a kid? Because it was the first time you'd encountered one of the fluffy ones. Don't do that, by the way.
They look so pretty, I
Oh,
know.
it's so bad.
We also used to have a highway named Highway 666, just like the one in Natural Born Killers. It's still there. They just changed its name. Driving on it, just because knowing like the lore, is a creepy experience. It feels very rural because it is.
No.
It goes up through Farmington in the Shiprock area.
Yeah, like up north.
Yeah, and it's rural. It just feels like desolate and lonely.
Yeah.
It's not. I'm sure if you lived up there, it'd just be beautiful. But
And I'm sorry, the highway that I consider cursed, like been on 666, it was fine.
yeah,
The part that I consider cursed is I-40 going west from 12th Street. That section until Coors is cursed. It is never maintained. There is always somebody doing something stupid. Something weird is going to happen if you have taken that couple of blocks. That is the cursed highway.
100% true.
Anyway.
That's right.
I'll
And
get off my
traffic is
soapbox.
always backed up there
Mhm.
from and I say traffic, and my daughter laughs at me. She just got back here from being in Dallas and then Houston.
Yeah,
So she's
different
laughing at me.
levels, but it's trafficy.
Yeah, for us, it's trafficy, but it's always backed up from the Big Eye to the river going westbound. Ugh. So I was saying earlier, we're a big state. So land-wise, if you add up North Carolina, Georgia, Rhode Island, Delaware, and Connecticut, that's approximately the size of New Mexico.
And you probably still have a little wiggle room.
I think it's about 140 square miles of wiggle room. So, from Albuquerque, it's a 3-hour drive to get out of the state, depending on your speeds. For me, it's a 3-hour drive. And that's if I'm going to Texas, Colorado, or Arizona. If I'm going north, if I'm going south, then it's 4-ish hours to Las Cruces. I haven't been there in a while.
Oh, that's the most boring drive.
It is so boring.
It's just straight and long.
And then, you get through Las Cruces, and then there's Mexico up on the hill. So here's some more fun stuff. Okay. As of the 2020 census, there are approximately 231,000 Native Americans in New Mexico. That is about 11% of the state's population, and it's one of the highest proportions of Native American residents in any U.S. state. We have 23 federally recognized tribes here, 19 Pueblo tribes, 3 Apache tribes, and the Navajo Nation, which, if you don't know, that also extends into Arizona and Utah. It is very large. And then 10% of our land out here, which is about 12 million acres, is made up of tribal lands. So 12 million acres is the 10%.
And it's very patchwork. You're always kind of driving in and out of, we have, we're quite close here, I think, to Isleta Pueblo land.
And then you got Sandia right up there.
Yep.
So the total size of New Mexico, which I guess I could have said this a few minutes ago, but it's about 121,590 square miles. That's 77.8 million square acres.
Much of which is not populated.
Yeah, it's very rural. I mean, I think you probably figured that out at the top of the episode when I was naming our big cities. So back to the native land in this state. So the Navajo Nation has about 4 million acres in New Mexico. The total Navajo Nation is about 17.5 million acres. We've got 19 Pueblo tribes, with many having what we were just talking about, parcels near the Rio Grande River. Totals about 2 million acres. And then we have our Apache tribes. They have about 3 million acres. And then we have quite a few trust lands out here, a lot, and allotments, which brings the total closer to about 12 million. Although a lot of the land trusts and land grant places aren't necessarily Native American.
Right. There are still Spanish land grants in
Yes,
play
they're
here.
Native New Mexican. Yeah. And so these lands, they're sovereign to the tribes. They have their own government, and they are subject, usually they cooperate with federal oversight, but not state oversight.
Mm-hmm.
A friend of mine, poor thing, got in a car accident on the interstate going through San Diego Pueblo.
Mm-hmm.
She's fine. Car wasn't. It got like rolled over by an 18-wheeler.
But if you're going to meet the business end of a semi, that was the way to come out
Yeah.
of it, you know.
But the police who came to help her were from the San Diego Pueblo, and they were so helpful. I've unfortunately had 2 car accidents in the past few years, and the Albuquerque police dealing with car accidents are not as helpful. New Mexico also, our license plates on our cars say USA. That way, when we're like driving in the Midwest or wherever they don't know we exist,
A little bit of a clue.
Nevada,
Doesn't always work.
it says USA, and we're not supposed to get pulled over for that reason,
Is that
you know?
not okay? I'm sorry. This is a today I learned moment. Is that not a thing for other people's license plates? Do
We're
they
the
not?
only license plate that says that.
What? Okay,
Yeah.
I'm literally learning that right
Yeah.
now. I just assumed that was
Our
normal.
driver's license don't say that,
Mm-hmm.
even though they are, especially now, we all have to have those real IDs.
Mm-hmm.
They meet all the requirements, but they don't say USA. And, you know, people have been like denied plane tickets, bus tickets, been told they have to pay international shipping rates.
Mm-hmm. I remember getting made fun of in school in California when we were there for a couple of years because everyone called me a liar because I couldn't possibly be from New Mexico. I don't speak Spanish.
Here is one New Mexico myth. So people are like, New Mexico's brown and it's a dry, barren desert.
There is so much color variety here. Yes, it's desert, but we have all 4
Well, up
seasons.
in this side of the state, it's a high desert, which
Mhm.
means something kind of different. It means rattlesnake.
It means we keep having to chase the stupid roadrunner off the front porch is what it means. We have lizards that we really enjoy and we're really trying not to get them eaten. And what happens outside of our yard confines is just nature. But
Yeah.
I'll wave a stick at a bird to save my lizards.
So we definitely have deserts. We also have, you know, the Rocky Mountains right back here.
Mm-hmm.
We have forests, rivers, canyons. It does snow here.
I grew up in pine forest for the
Yeah.
most part.
We also have like Taos and Santa Fe. You can go skiing or snowboarding there every winter, literally. We are a majority state, which means that more than half of people here identify as non-white.
Yeah. And I think we have the luxury of having grown up here and just like feeling
Mhm.
like it's normal. Like obviously you have cultural clashes with any group of people, but it's just never felt like an uncomfortable space.
No, it hasn't. And, you know, I moved from here to Hawaii where we didn't live on the Air Force Base. My dad wasn't in the military. He was working for the government. And I think I was one of like 20, 25 white kids in my school of 2,000 7th and 8th graders. Like, I don't know what it would be like if you're transported somewhere like that now. But I honestly kind of thought it was good for me because then when we left there, we go to Alabama and there's just like a really, in the rural parts anyways, a really strong like black and white divide. We have a really vibrant culture out here.
Oh, we have such amazing arts and music.
We don't have any professional sports teams, which also means we don't have any like big arenas. So we do get skipped on a lot of like mainstream concert tours. So now that I've told you all about how much I love it here, we're going to talk facts about Albuquerque. Is just like everyone thinks we're Memphis. No shade, Memphis, but y'all are terrifying. But like Albuquerque is constantly like it'll be in one list of the top 10 worst cities in the US, and another list it won't be there. So we have a lot of violent crime per capita. That is true.
Do you remember when we were kids, the TV show Cops got banned from filming here because they came back so many times because it was an easy film because so much happens that they actually the city government just asked them to stop coming back, please. You're giving us a bad name.
Right? And we lately, like, we break over 100 homicides every year. I know that's not like New York City or Chicago, but we are not that size.
Per capita, that's horrifying.
It is. We also have a high number of assaults, high number of property crimes, high number of auto theft.
And I will say all of those things are true. It's not any less dangerous than it sounds. But it's also, we are such a community-based city that I have never seen people not take care of each other, even though those crimes are happening everywhere. Like the park that we used to live near, a lot of people that we knew moved out because of real reasonable things. Like,
Yeah.
I want my kid to play in this park and I'm finding needles every day. Like,
Ugh.
that's, I would also move. But the day that all of my husband's props got stolen out of the car because of a mistake I had made because I had left the window open. Yes, that was a crime that happened to us, but all of the people that were in that park all day, every day, knew us and commiserated with us and actually asked around and tried to find some answers. And it was a terrible experience, but it was also this real sense of community. Like, no, we are watching out for each other. We are trying to fix each other's issues. There's just not a lot of resources to do so. We work with what we have.
Okay, but let's talk about good things. National parks. Carlsbad Caverns.
Yeah.
My last stat said over 100 underground caves to explore. Personally, I don't want to explore them too very much. White Sands, which we talked about. People like to go sledding there. It's really fun. You can get like a plastic snow sled and wax the bottom of it and go down the hills. Careful not to land on your back in a yucca plant. It hurts.
Can confirm both that is fun and that hurts.
Also, wear sunscreen and however much water you think you need, quadruple it.
It's like walking on a mirror. No, sunscreen is not optional.
Yeah. That was where I learned as a small kid that if you were dehydrated, one of your symptoms might be like if you pinch the skin on the top of your hands, it would stand up. That happened to my sister. It's hot out here. It's hot and dry, and you won't realize until you hit the ground.
The Valle Grande is probably one of my favorites. It is a giant crater of a volcano that, when it did explode, eons ago, it exploded so violently that they've found pieces of the same crater as far away as Montana.
Dang!
Yeah, so it's a shield volcano, still active, by the way, probably fine for us. But what's neat is you can watch the elk herds migrate across it. I watched a coyote stalk the herd once. It was one of the neatest things. So that's definitely worth a visit.
Wow. We also have a lot of other cool things that aren't national parks, but they are under federal protection. Bandelier National Monument.
Yes.
Have you been there?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure you have. Okay.
Absolutely.
Those are ancient cliff dwellings, and I think they're and petroglyphs left by. They're near Los Alamos, which is why she's been there, obviously.
Yeah, the Anasazi tribes, there's still a lot of really cool sites up there.
And we have the Gila Cliff Dwellings National Monument. We have Chaco Canyon. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site because it has prehistoric ruins. Pecos National Park, lots of Pueblo ruins up there. We also have, this isn't like per se federally protected, but it's cool. We have Four Corners. That's where, and the monument turned out to be in the wrong spot, but who cares? That's where New Mexico, Arizona, Utah, and Colorado all touch. It's up like above Shiprock, so it's kind of like got this out in the middle of nowhere vibes. You stand on the monument, again, turns out to be in the wrong place, and then you're like, I'm standing in 4 states at once. That's the only place in the U.S. where this happens. We also have the OG Meow Wolf.
It's true.
We've said that before. Sponsor us. And then we've produced some famous people like Neil Patrick Harris. He's from here. Demi Lovato was born here, although I don't think she lived here very long. Freddie Prinze Jr. He was not born here, but he was raised here.
Went to La Cueva.
Adrian Grenier. He's from Entourage. I'm sure he's in a ton of other stuff, but I don't know. Gene Hackman just passed away up in Santa Fe. Val Kilmer also passed away. Julia Roberts spends a good bit of her time in Taos. There's a lot of famous people there. We have Georgia O'Keeffe. We have a whole museum dedicated to her. We have the author of a very, very famous book, Bless Me Ultima, Rudolfo Anaya. And we also have this guy named Tony Hillerman. The library I like to go to when I'm going to a physical library, it's the Tony Hillerman Library. That's my library. So Tony Hillerman wrote a lot of books, and a lot of them have been turned into TV shows, like Dark Winds, which I think is on Netflix.
Oh, yeah. People of Darkness was on our middle school reading list.
Okay. We also have John Denver. He's also associated with Colorado, but he did spend a lot of time here. And Al Hurricane. I know everyone knows who that is.
Al Hurricane. Oh
and
my.
Al Hurricane Jr.
So he sang at my grandparents-in-law's wedding
Okay.
and was booked to sing at my mother-in-law's wedding. Events transpired, and then at their 50th, his grandparents' 50th anniversary party, he came back and sang again.
We also have Deb Holland. She's from the Laguna Pueblo. Most recently, she was the first Native American U.S. Cabinet Secretary.
Secretary of the Interior. Woo!
Yep. We also had Bill Gates, Holly Holm, champion UFC and MMA fighter, Johnny Tapia, boxer. So to wind this all back up, what Rose mentioned a while back about one of our 50 is missing. I went through it and I pulled out some of the funniest little anecdotes. So that's like a column in New Mexico magazine. So this guy, he lives in Boulder, Colorado. His name's Kenneth. He went to a Greyhound station in Dothan, Alabama, and was like, "Hey, do you go to Mexico?" And the clerk was like, "Yes, I do." And he was like, "Which ones?" And she's all, "Albuquerque and Santa Fe." Another lady mentioned that she had said in her international work meeting online that there were a lot of roadrunners out front, and people were like, "Wait, they're real?"
Yeah, no, I've run into that a lot. They look nothing like Wile E. Coyote's Roadrunner. They're like, I don't know, fatty, stretched out cardinals. Like they have the same kind of angularity, but they've got like a fantail. But yeah,
and
no,
more dinosaur looking.
more dinosaur look, very raptor-like.
My favorite one I saved for last. Albuquerque resident Sabrina Denning grew up in Germany. She still reads the German magazine, I'm going to butcher this word, Bunt, where she saw an article on Disney's 2019 live-action Lady and the Tramp remake. The star of the film is a terrier dog who was named Monty, and the article says it was a street dog who was rescued from a shelter in the Mexican city of New Mexico. He's actually from Las Cruces. But she also said she wasn't surprised, as her German friends know of Albuquerque as the thing from Breaking Bad, somewhere close to Hollywood. So we hope you love New Mexico now. We hope you come visit during the Balloon Fiesta. We won't be there, but you should definitely come. It's super fun, and you can probably rent like a really authentic adobe house for way too much money.
There's a lot of Airbnbs out here. I'm perfectly fine with them being in the neighborhood, but stop buying all the tiny houses. People need to buy them.
I'm surprised you're fine with it. People literally tried to pry your home deed out of your hands to turn this into an Airbnb.
Yeah, I won. I can be magnanimous.
All right. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and follow.
Thank you. Have a good week.